Recording. It's a bit slow. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavada Sevaya Bhagavadi Uttama Sloge Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtigim. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we are reading from chapter 13. This chapter is titled as Nature, the Purusha, the Enjoyer, the Consciousness. So we'll be reading the first two verses. Arjuna Uvacha Pragratim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnam Evacha Edad Vedidumichami Jnanam Nyeyam Cha Keshava Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaundeya Kshetram Idi Abhidiyade Edad Yo Veditam Prabhu Tam Prahu Kshetrajna Idi Tadvidaha Arjuna Uvacha Pragratim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnameva Cha Edad Vedidumichami Jnanam Nyeyam Cha Keshava Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaundeya Kshetram Idi Abhidiyade Kshetram Edad Yo Veditam Prahu Kshetrajna Idi Tadvidaha Arjuna Uvacha Pragratim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnameva Cha Edad Vedidumichami Jnanam Nyeyam Cha Keshava Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaundeya Kshetram Idi Abhidiyade Edad Yo Veditam Prahu Kshetrajna Idi Tadvidaha. Your devotees, please recite. If you can, please try. Prabhuji, Mataji, please go ahead.
Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetra Kshetrajnameva Cha Etad Veditumichhami Jnanam Jneyam Cha Keshava Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Mityabhidiyate Etadyo Vetti Tam Prahu Kshetrajna Iti Tadvidim.
Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnanam Evacho Etab Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Jnanam Nyam Cho Keshava Ni Bhagavan Uvacho Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Iti Abhidhate Etat Uheti Tam Prahuho Kshetra Jnana Iti Tat Vidaho.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, Mataji. Anybody else would like to recite?
Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnam Evacha Etat Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Nyeyam Cha Keshava Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya क्षेत्रम् इति अभिधीयते एतद् यो वेति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः.
Jai. Thank you, Amardana Prabhu. Anybody else?
Arjuna uvacha prakrtim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetranyana eva cha edat veditum ichhami jnanam neyam cha keshava. Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam sariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidityate edat yo veti tam paruha prahu kshetranyana iti tadvida.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. So nice. Anybody else?
अर्जुन उवाच प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञम् एव च एतद्वेदितुम् इच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव. श्रीभगवान् उवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रम् इति अभिधीयते एतद् यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः.
Jai. Thank you, Sudhakar Prabhu. Nice. Nicely recited. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll go word by word meaning. Synonyms. Arjuna Uvaja. Arjuna said. Pragratim, nature. Purusham, the enjoyer. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Kshetram, the field. Kshetrajnam, the knower of the field. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Eda, all this. Veditum, to understand. Ichhami, I wish. Jnanam, knowledge. Jnayam, the object of knowledge. Cha, also. Keshava, O Krishna. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of Godhead said, Idam, this, Shariram, body. Kaundeya, O son of Kundi. Kshetram, the field. Idi, thus. Abhidiyade is called. Edat, this, ya, one who. Veti, knows. Tam, he. Prahu is called. Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. Idi, thus. Tadvidaha, by those who know this. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Arjuna said, O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, This body, O son of Kundi, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. Anybody would like to volunteer to read the purport? There are two paragraphs. Yes. Please go ahead.
Arjun was inquisitive about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field, Kshetrajna, the knower, and the knowledge and the object of the knowledge. When he inquired about all this, Krishna said that this body is called the field, and that one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. This body is the field of the activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence, and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of the activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of the senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy the sense gratification. And according to his capacity to enjoy the sense gratification, he is offered a body or a field or activity. Therefore, the body is called the kshetra, or the field of the activity for the conditioned soul. Now, the person who should not identify himself with the body is called kshetrajna, the knower of the field. It is not very difficult to understand the difference between the field and its knower, and the body and the knower of the body. and any person can consider that from childhood to old age, he undergoes so many changes of the body, and yet is still of one person remaining. Thus, there is a difference between the knower of the field of the activity and the actual field of the activity. A living conditioned soul can thus understand that he is different from the body. It is described in the beginning, Dehi knows me, that the living entity is within the body, and that the body is changed from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to the youth, and from the youth to the old age. And the person who owns the body knows that the body is changing. The owner is distinctly Kshetrajna. Sometimes we think, I am happy, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a dog, I am a cat. These are the bodily designation of the knower. But the knower is different from the body. Although we may use many articles, our clothes, etc., we know that we are different from the things used. Similarly, we also understand by a little contem,
Contemplation.
contemplation that we are different from the body. I or you or anyone else who owns the body is called the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field of the activity, and the body is called Kshetra, and the field of the activity itself.
Thank you, Jayaprakash. Anybody else would like to volunteer to read the next paragraph? Please go
In
ahead.
the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness they are suffering. When enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities. As the distressed, those in want of money, the inquisitive, and those in search of knowledge. That is also described. Now, starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and the discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. This is also explained.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Also, we can repeat the translation. I think Mona Mataji was trying to read. Can you read the translation, Mataji?
Which paragraph, Prabhu? The whole thing?
No, the translation. The translation.
Translation, sorry, yeah. Arjuna said, "O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field." Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sudha Mataji. Thank you, Mona Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji, I didn't hear you try to read. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
That's absolutely fine, Mataji. That's okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We should have the enthusiasm. That's very great. It's a great sign. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Om Nagyanatimidandasya Jnananjanasalagaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantigam Vandeham Sri Gurum Sri Yudabadakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Rigunadhanidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Sri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sahana Vavadu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamadidastu Ma Vidushavahay Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today. It's very auspicious and very beneficial that we hear in detail systematic study of Bhagavad-Gita in detail. So today onwards, we are starting a new section. That new section is known as the Jnana Yoga. Can anybody say there are how many primarily the yoga systems which is mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita? Can anybody say? Unmute and say. How many yoga systems Lord mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there are three main systems.
Okay.
First one is Karma Yoga,
Okay.
and then there is Bhakti Yoga and
Okay.
Jnana Yoga. And
Okay.
between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, on the 6th chapter, where we are trying to do meditation. So
Okay.
I don't know
That
what
is
I'm missing the word there, but yeah,
Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga, yeah, correct. Yeah, Ashtanga Yoga, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty much good.
Very good. Can somebody say from which chapter to which chapter this Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga mentioned? Anybody?
Chapter 1 to 6 is the Karma Yoga.
Okay, Karma Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, right? Yes.
Yeah, and 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga.
Okay,
And then remaining chapter 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga, right. So now we are coming to the section of Jnana Yoga. That's why I started with Jnana means knowledge. Basically, Jnana is the knowledge, the realized knowledge, the knowledge between the body and the soul. And that's why it is starting with this material nature and the kshetra and kshetrajna, the body and the soul and the object of the knowledge and the knowledge and the field and the activity of the field. So many. So Arjuna is asking 6 questions. So here we saw that in the last chapter, that's the 12th chapter, which was culminating the devotional service. And anybody remembers what is the last verse of the 12th chapter? And that is the culminating, the Supreme Lord is concluding and culminating with what is the utmost of the Bhakti Yoga. Anybody remembers from the Friday's class what Krishna said to Arjuna, that who is the most dear to him? Anybody remembers? Anybody remembers? Okay, Krishna is telling to Arjuna that one who follows this imperishable path of yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and make me as the Supreme God is very, very dear to me, Krishna says. So let me ask you this question. What is the core theme of Bhagavad Gita? If you take 1 to 18 chapter, how do you say that? What is Bhagavad Gita? And what is the core theme of Bhagavad Gita? Can anybody say?
Yes, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu, everyone.
Yes.
Every devotees. So Prabhu, I think that essence of Bhagavad Gita, the 5 things it is described in Bhagavad Gita.
No, not that word. That's the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita, right? But when you say what is the basic teaching, what is the core teaching in one word, what is the core teaching? Everything is actually culminating to one point. Everything is bringing to one point the Krishna. And what is that ultimately? So even if we say Karma Yoga is culminating to one thing. Even if we say Jnana Yoga also bringing, culminating to one point. And even Bhakti Yoga that we saw that what Krishna is culminating with, what is utmost, what Krishna is saying to Arjuna, that what is the most important, what is that? I mean, that we can say that 1 to 8.
Surrendering.
Krishna is saying, yeah,
Surrendering to
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Surrender unto me, and it's nothing but, Acharya has mentioned that, nothing but Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means loving devotional service, and this one who follows this imperishable path of yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and make me as the supreme goal. So that is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate essence of Bhagavad Gita. So, but that is explained in many, many ways, like Krishna says, Manmana Mohabhat Bhakto Madhyaji Mamamskuru, worship me, offer your homage unto me, thus you will come to me, Sarvadharman Paritijyam Mamegam Sharanam Raja, come to surrender unto me. I will, relieve from you, the sinful reactions. And Krishna says, Et karoshi dasnasi jagosi dadatiyas, estavasyasi kaunda. Whatever you do, whatever activities you perform, all that as an offering to me. Krishna says that, Desha tasma sarveshu kaleshu mamanismere yutija mai arpida manobuddhir. Krishna says, mai arpida manobuddhir. You surrender your mind, mai arpida manobuddhir, your intelligence and senses surrender unto me. And Karma Yoga, what is Karma Yoga? Nothing but, action in Krishna consciousness. In the essence of Karma Yoga, even if explains in the Karma Yoga, the fruitive activities in the 3rd chapter, the gradual progression of the activities, so that we can dovetail all our activities in the forms of our activities to Krishna. And then finally Krishna says that surrender all these activities to me, and then you will incur no sin. That is action in Krishna consciousness, that's called akarma. So that's also bhakti. That's what is exactly Krishna is also telling to Arjuna, you surrender unto me. All your activities surrender unto me. All your intelligence, mind, the body, the words, everything, you surrender unto me. You have the conscious of me and follow this imperishable path of Bhakti Yoga. That's a bhakti, that's a loving devotion to the Supreme. So in one sense, the entire Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to the Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, the loving devotional service unto the Supreme. So here is also Jnana Yoga section is also for the same reason. So somebody asks, why Krishna is explaining Karma Yoga. Yes, nothing but Karma Yoga, the body, mind and words, or the knowledge. Words means knowledge, body means our activities, the mind completely engaged into the bhakti, and the words, the knowledge, it's all for the Lord. So we know that sometimes, the sannyasis, the sages, they carry this staff. In that staff, the danda, it contains 3 rods. So these 3 rods represents, and the 3 body, mind and word. Body means all our activities, right? And the mind is actually the another danda represents, and then another danda represents. There are 3 rods. That's called Tridandi Sannyasi. The Tridandi Sannyasi means that they are completely surrendered with their body, with their activities, with their words, with their mind. Senses are included in the mind to the service of the Lord. So dear devotees, this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga primarily, Jnana Yoga, the words, the body, the activities, and the Bhakti Yoga, the completely you're surrendering your consciousness, your activities, everything for the Lord. So this is the symptom, this is the quality of a devotee. This is the quality of a devotee. So when we don't know, sometimes we open our mouth, we don't know what is the knowledge, what is not the knowledge. So sometimes we know that our body, but we don't know what is this body and what is the knower of the body, the soul. We know the activities and we don't know, how to perform the activities. So it is clarifying here in this chapter, and then the next chapter is especially is describing about the material nature. the modes of material nature, the 14th chapter. So this chapter is nature, the Purusha, the who is the enjoyer, the nature, the material nature, Prakriti, the Purusha, and Kshetra, the body, the knower of the body, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, and the Jnanam, the knowledge, and the Jnayam, that means the object of knowledge. So all this is culminating. This why it is explaining here, because of this is for our understanding. Who are we? What am I? What am I supposed to do? How should I do? How should I, use my body, senses, mind? How should I use my mouth and the words, activities? How should I acquire the knowledge? All this is explained here. And basically, Arjuna is asking this question so we culminated that one who follows this imperishable path of bhakti yoga and makes me as the supreme God. So now Arjuna asking this question so that it helps for me is that how we can make that possible. So this knowledge is also to bring everybody to the Bhakti Yoga. The Karma Yoga also brings everybody to the Bhakti Yoga. The Ashtanga Yoga also means to attain the Supreme Lord. Right? But that is a convoluted process. So Krishna is just explained that in one chapter. But Karma Yoga explains up to the 5th chapter. The Bhakti Yoga explains 6 chapters, and Jnana Yoga explains in 6 further chapters. So let us come to the point now. And also, there is another way that we can look at it, this one. Anybody knows that what are the 5 subject matter of Bhagavad Gita? Anybody knows what are the 5 subject matter of Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, Prabhu.
Ishvara.
Ishvara, Prakriti, Karma, Kal,
And one more.
Soul, Prabhu.
Atma.
Jiva.
Right. So these are the 5 subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. And the same thing is also repeating here, and in the nature is also, the Kala is also there. And here Arjuna is asking that 6 questions about body and the activities, right? The Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the body and the soul, right? And the body comes under the material nature, and the soul comes under the Kshetrajna, right? Then the knowledge, right? The knowledge of the self and knowledge of the Supreme. So that's also there, is covering there. And also the Purusha, that means the Supreme Lord. Purusha literally means the enjoyer, right? The nature, the Prakriti. So this is all covering in many, many ways. We can see that. That's why it's mentioned that the Bhagavad Gita is mainly describes the 5 main subject matter. So we can see that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, these subject matters. So karma is explained, and the Kala, the eternal time, is explained. That's in coming chapters. We will also see that the eternal time, how it is explained. So here it is mentioned that in these verses that there are 6 questions Arjuna asked. And first verse is actually the Krishna Arjuna's the 6 questions. So what are the 6 questions? Arjuna says, I wish to know about Prakriti. Prakriti means material nature. It's a great topic, dear devotees. And Krishna says that in the 7th chapter also, Krishna says that this is my inferior nature. Bhumir abo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha ahangaram idiyame bhinna prakriti rashtadaha. Apareyam idastamanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabhavo darayet dam jagat. That means Bhumirabo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha ahangaram idiyame bhinna prakriti rashtadaha. This earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, this 8 constitute my separated energies. 8 constitute ashtada. 8 constitute my separated energy. That separated energy or is called out in the next verse says that Apareyam idastamanyam prakritim vidime param. Beyond this material nature, there is a superior nature. So Krishna says that this is apara, this is inferior nature, this material, the prakriti. So Arjuna want to know what is this all about, this prakriti. So that we will explain in the 14th chapter. Then Arjuna asked this question, Purusha, who is the enjoyer? Yes, it is always there. If anything that which comes from the Lord, anything is a proprietor for everything, that means it's meant for that proprietor. It's not for anybody else. So who is really the enjoyer? Who is really the Lord of everything? So that's Purusha means the enjoyer, the Lord of everything. So Arjuna wanted to know that why Arjuna asked this question. Sometimes, Arjuna sees that everybody is acting as, they are the enjoyer, they are the, the lord of this material nature. Arjuna also had this illusion. Arjuna thought that, it's all me, it's all around me, because of, my kinsmen, my grandparents, my side, all about me, myself. And because of that platform, Arjuna was thinking, then everything is actually come to the, the confusion and the ignorance and the darkness and all. So Arjuna was very confused. And now Arjuna is trying to understand, and who is really who? Who is really the Lord of everything? Who is really enjoying all of this? After understanding from Krishna that Krishna is the Supreme God. So Arjuna wanted to know more about the Supreme Lord, the enjoyer. Then the field and the knower of the field. So second verse is actually Arjuna, Krishna is revealing, answering these two aspects. Then in the subsequent verses, we will see that Krishna is answering all these 6 questions. But the second verse today we are covering is Krishna is replying about the knower of the field and the knowledge of the the body and the body of the knowledge, body and the activities of the body. Yeah, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead said the body, the son of Kundi is called field, and one who knows the body is called the knower of the field. So basically, Krishna is replying to Arjuna about the soul and the body, the activities of the knower of the body. So basically, Krishna is giving us a wonderful understanding what is this body and who is the soul. So here in this chapter, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is very nicely explaining in the purport about the distinction between the body and the soul. As we all know that the body is perishable. Body is just, as in the Bhagavad-Gita mentioned that, Dehino asmini yada dehe, kaumaram yauvanam jara, tada dehantara praptur dhiras tatra muhyadi. That means, why the soul, the embodied soul, passing from the boyhood to youthhood, youthhood to old age. Similarly, at the time of death, goes to another body. Dehino asmeda dehe, kaumaram yauvanam jara. That means, from the boyhood to youthhood, youthhood to old age. Kaumaram yauvanam jara, dada dehantara prapta. When the soul passes to another body, when the body dies, the soul passes to another body. So, it is mentioned as a scripture, one who takes the birth will surely die, and one who surely die has to take birth again. So this all explains that the soul is eternal. So there is a beautiful descriptions about in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think the sage Angira and Narada gave instruction to King Chitraketu and Kridadhiti. And it was a beautiful section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think many of you know this pastime. This is the story of Chitraketu. Chitraketu was an emperor, and Chitraketu had many thousands of wives. But Chitraketu had a very much, lamented because of Chitraketu didn't have a son to continue his, the kingdom. And Chitraketu was very much in distress and disappointment. And then one day, sage Angiras came over there, and seeing Chitraketu's lamentation and disappointment and distress, and Angira Muni gave us blessings and a boon, and obviously Angira's, very great sage, and they have this very, mystic power, and the Angira Muni got some kheer, some payasam, gave it to Chitraketu, and out of all these thousands of wives, the Kridadhiti was very favorite for King Chitraketu. Chitraketu gave this kheer to Mother Kridadhiti, and eventually, Mother Kridadhiti conceived a child, a baby boy, and delivered a baby boy. So then king became so attached to Kridadhiti, and king so much attached to the son, and all the time the king is spending a lot of time with the Kridadhiti, the queen. Then this actually created a disparity. There is distrust and enviousness between all the other queens. So they made a plan because of this child. They thought because of the child, now king is not even looking at us, king is not even coming to us, and he is completely ignoring us, and this is very much heartbreaking, and this is because of this child. So what they did, they made a plan. They poisoned this baby, this child, and all on a sudden this baby passed away. And it was, instead of the great joy, the king had great joy seeing his child, he is seeing his son, and all the time he was spending this all the time spending with with his son, and he was deriving great joy and ecstasy and the happiness and the pleasure, and all around he was so jubilant because of this flickering, and king became so jubilant. And all on a sudden the child is died, and king become, as if like he is dying, and he does not have any energy to even get up. He was lying down, and he was so much in distress and disappointment, and everybody was crying like anything, and so much and so much and so much of it. So why I'm mentioning here, dear devotees, then this is the time Sage Angira and Sage Narada came together there. And it's beautiful that their explanation of this one. And let me take that the saints. Yeah, it is. Let me take that one and explains that how Sage Angira and Narada Muni explains to the difference between the body and the soul, and how they explained very nicely to the King Chitraketu and Krudabidhi and all the other queens. So it's very beautiful. It is mentioned that yeah. So here I am looking at the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sage Angira was explaining this to King Chitraketus, and here we can see that. Yeah, then Sage Angiras and Narada came, and Chitraketu immediately stood up his throne and offered him worship. He offered drinking water and eatables and all those things, and great Sage Angira started to speak. I hope that your body and mind and your royal associates and paraphernalia are well. When the 7 properties of material nature, the total material energy, the ego, the 5 object sense gratification are in proper order. The living entity within the material elements is happy. Without these 7 elements cannot exist. Similarly, the king is always protected by 7 elements. So basically, Angira was giving this a beautiful instruction to Chitraketu, and it's so beautiful in such a way that so Sage Angira said, "My dear king, when you decided to have a son, I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Angira Rishi who gave you this son. As for this Rishi, he is the great sage Narada, the direct son of Lord Brahma. So, my dear king, you are an advanced devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be absorbed in lamentation for loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. Therefore, we have both come to relieve you from the false lamentation, which is due to your being merged in the darkness of ignorance." So, dear devotees, the reason I am mentioning this because of when we are always thinking about this body and the soul, we are completely merged with the nature of the body, but we completely forgets about our original identity. So this was reawakening. Sage Angira and Sage Narada is reawakening and giving this transcendental knowledge to King Chitraketu. So then King Angiras was mentioning, now you are actually experiencing the misery of a person who has son and daughters. O king, honor of the state of Shurasena, one's wife, his house, the opulence of his kingdom, and his various other opulences and object of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. One's kingdom, military power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. So when we say the body and the field of the activity, that's we are coming to that, the next section of it. So they are like a Gandharva Nagara, a non-existent palace that one imagines to exist in the forest because they are impermanent. They are no better than illusion, dreams, and mental concoctions. These visible objects like wife, children, and property are like dreams and mental concoctions. Actually, what we see has no permanent existence. It is sometimes seen and sometimes not. Only because of our past action do we create such mental concoctions, and because of these concoctions we perform further activities. The living entity in the bodily conception of life is absorbed in the body, which is combination of physical elements, the five senses for gathering knowledge, and the five senses of action along with the mind. Through the mind, the living entity suffers three kinds of tribulations: Adi Bhaudik, Adi Devik, Adi Adhyatmik. Therefore, this body is a source of all miseries. So the question Arjuna asks is expanding in various ways because of this knowledge come from Krishna to the various sages and great rishis. So Angira Maharshi was saying further to Chitraketu, therefore, O King Chitraketu, carefully consider the position of Atma. So we are speaking now about the Atma, the soul. In other words, try to understand who you are, whether the body, mind or soul. Consider where you have come from, where you are going after giving up this body, and why you are under the control of material lamentation. Try to understand your real position in this way, and then you will be able to give up your unnecessary attachment. You will also be able to give up the belief that this material world or anything not directly in touch with the service to Krishna is eternal. Thus you will obtain peace. The great sage Narada continued, my dear king, attentively receive from me a mantra which is most auspicious. After accepting it from me, in 7 nights you will be able to see the Lord face to face. See, dear devotees, the blessings of the sages and the mantra which attentively chants, even within a short time, that one can even see face to face the Lord. So then Narada Dev also continues, my dear king, in former days of Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of the lotus feet of Sankarsana. Thus they immediately got free from the illusion of duality and achieved unequaled and unsurpassed glories in spiritual life. You will very soon attain that very same position. So dear devotees, the reason I mention here, because of only that we have to this beginning with the knowledge section or the Jnana Yoga section. So Jnana Yoga means to understand the body and the soul, the material nature, the prakriti, the activity and the field of the activity. So this is the Jnana Yoga section. This is called Jnana or the knowledge. So why we are understanding? So that we know what is exactly what. So we are completely in illusion. Sometimes we think that I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. So that everything is actually based on our own sensual desires or centric activities. So Srila Prabhupada also mentioned the purport. We are getting this body. Body is nothing but to the senses. To enjoy the senses that we are getting this body. So we are considering that everything that I am and me and my body is everything. But beyond, we completely forget that the knower of the body or the soul which dwells within the body is the eternal and everything. But the body, we think that the body is temporary, but we completely forget that about the soul. So then what happens? We swayed away into this material nature. So this is very important to understand who am I. We are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamayvamsha jiva loke jiva buddha sanadana mat strani indriyani prakritistani karshati. That means we are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Right? Mamayo amsho jiva loge jiva bhuta sanadana. We are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the first understanding we need to have. We are not independent in this world. That's the second. So, but what we have this body that is just for our activities, so that we can realize our original constitutional position. Once we realize our original constitutional position, then we can completely engage, completely remember, and completely we can depend upon the Supreme Lord. He is the eternal, original Purusha, original personality of Godhead. So, in order to realize that who we are, what is this body, and what is the importance of the soul, so sometimes we completely, completely forget about the position of the soul. So then that leads us to the ignorance, that leads us to the darkness, that leads us to go away from the Lord, that leads us to all these illusions and all our anarthas, all the anarthas which come from when we, not understanding what is the soul. So that's the reason actually Arjuna is asking this question, so that we all can understand who am I, what is my constitutional position. So let me stop here with this, the explanation. So we'll see some discussions, and anybody has any questions about this, this topic. Hare Krishna. Hope that it explains something, and we can distinguish and understand the position of the body and the importance of the spirit soul. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Are there any discussions or comments or concerns? Anything you would like to add? Hare Krishna. Is it audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Anything you would like to add?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So just one quick comment. So,
okay.
So there is a Jnana Yoga, which is right. Is that something needed for Bhakti Yoga? So Jnana Yoga, as I understand, is through the meditation, and then someone tries to experience the Paramatma,
right?
The meditation aspect of it. So is that experience needed or included within the Bhakti Yoga?
It's a good question. Wonderful question. Yes. In one sense, so just for an example, we know we have a boat, but we don't know how to row the boat. Then, what will happen? We cannot cross the ocean. So this knowledge aspects about the nature, the prakriti, the purusha, the field, the soul, the body, all is important, because of that leads to our leads to our pure devotion. Sometimes what happens, ultimately this Jnana Yoga is meant to, it's a path, it actually brings one to the pure devotional platform. So it gives the knowledge. It gives the knowledge about the Supreme Lord. Sometimes we hear so many things from various places, various scriptures, or various things. So we may not, that's what we can see in this world right now. Many people are confused because of so many instructions and so many ways. But unless and until we hear from the scriptures, Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru, they all speak the same thing, and it's all, impart the knowledge, the transcendent knowledge of the Supreme Lord, to the aspirer, to the devotee, so that he can completely situate into the Krishna consciousness. There was an example. One time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was giving this class and the lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam in the temple. So one devotee, one disciple was sitting there, and all on a sudden the altar is open, and then this disciple got up and went into the altar and tried to, see the Lord. That means close the eyes and, use his the pranam and then with all those things. So this devotee, this disciple came back and sat in the, in the row there, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati noticed this one. This disciple got up and went to the altar to see the darshan. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked this disciple, where did you go? The disciple said, yes, I went for darshan, and so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati commented, yes, you closed your eyes, you opened your eyes, and here I am giving the technique, the science to how to see the Lord. Here I'm giving the way and the knowledge and the technique how to see the Lord. So unless and until you don't have this how to see the Lord and the way and the science and the technique, then you really don't see the Lord. So this is a very important instruction for all of us. So we should also understand how we can see this. It's Bhagavad-Gita's knowledge gives us a technique, the way, the science that impart to us that how we can see the Lord. So that's Krishna also in this mentioned in the chapter that Bahunam Janmanamande Jnanavan Mam Prabhatyande Vasudevam Sarvamidim Samahatma Sudurlabha. So Jnana Yoga, the meaning or what it is meant for, the Jnana Yoga is meant for to come to the pure devotional service. There we know that there are certain kinds of people, they are impersonalists or Jnana Yogis. They completely immersed into the study of Vedas, but they don't get to the ultimate level of ultimate understanding of Jnana is to develop the love for the Lord or the loving devotional service for the Lord. So that's what is important. So that's why Guru is important. Yes, Jnana Yoga is there, it is important, but Guru is also important so that Guru leads us to the right path to engage in the loving devotional service. Sadhu is important, impart the knowledge. Shastra is important so that we get the Guru and the mercy. So by the mercy of Lord Krishna, we get the Guru, and by the mercy of Guru, we get the Krishna, so that by the instructions of Guru, by Guru imparting the knowledge, so by this knowledge that we can attain Krishna. So there was an example in the South India, there is a Sri Rangatha temple. So Guru instructed to a Brahmana that read Bhagavad-Gita, right? So why Guru instructed to that Brahmana read Bhagavad-Gita? So that we can understand all the technicalities, all the important information, all the important science and aspect of the Lord. So this is nothing but the Lord's instruction. And also Srila Prabhupada also write in the purport, when we take it seriously, the Jnana Yoga, that's also Bhakti Yoga. When we take seriously the Karma Yoga, that's also Bhakti Yoga. So it is important so that it increases our devotion to the Lord. It increases our sincere dedication to the Lord. It purifies us. Even remembering Krishna, understanding Krishna is very important. Unless and until we understand, then what happens? We can commit mistakes, we can make lots of mistakes and aparadha and so many things. And sometimes we don't know. So it is also mentioned that, Prabhuji, that one who purely situated in the devotional platform, one who's purely situated in the devotional platform, he is the most knowledgeable. And this was the discussion between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is the most knowledgeable? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked this question, who is the most knowledgeable? One who is completely, purely situated in the loving devotional platform is the most knowledgeable. So how can we come to that level? How can we come to that pure devotional platform? By understanding and then following the path, either through the scriptures, either through the sadhu, either through the guru. And they are all imparting the knowledge of Krishna. Means is nothing but it's a knowledge, and his name and his paraphernalia, everything is not separate from him. In another sense of it, Krishna, when we say read Bhagavad-Gita, it's not different from Krishna. Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Any name, paraphernalia, anything that. So knowledge is also another devotional aspect, but it is very clearly mentioned that it's not that easy that one can come to the pure devotional platform. Then we have to cultivate our knowledge. We have to, by the cultivation of the knowledge, we can properly situate in the devotional path, and then sincerely we can dedicate. By the mercy, when we sincerely dedicate ourselves in such a way, then we can attain Krishna. So this is the journey as well. So by the knowledge, we can put our karma activities in the right path. By the knowledge, we can situate in the right path. By the knowledge, we can properly worship the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, many times we hear so many things from so many people. And also, we should always hear from the right source and right Bhagavad-Gita. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned surely there are 400 versions of Bhagavad-Gita. But there is a need for the Bhagavad-Gita as it is. so that it can transform the people. So the knowledge, so it is information, is the knowledge is for mainly for the transformation to attain Krishna. So that information is needed. This is the path. So we are taking this path so that to attain Krishna. So yes, so this way we can completely situate in Krishna. So finally, Arjuna had this, right? So many questions. The Bhagavad Gita is nothing but either from the Guru hearing or from the Sadhu, and this book was not there. But what Arjuna was hearing from the Sri Krishna, from the mouth of Sri Krishna, 45 minutes. Arjuna had this, so many doubts, so many. So now Krishna became a guru of Arjuna. So Krishna started to speak, and Arjuna was asking so many questions, and Krishna was, clearing all the doubts. You know what? Finally, Arjuna said. Arjuna said to Krishna, "Nashta moha smrdir labdha tot prasadad me achyuda stida deha yeah geda sneham stida sandehi karishye vajanam tava." Karishye vajanam tava. That means my illusions are gone. Nashta moha, my illusions are gone. Smridilabha, I get my original consciousness. Nashta moha smridilabha, tot prasadan machida, by your mercy. So this is also a mercy of the Lord that we are hearing, we are understanding, so that our moha, our illusions will be gone. Then we can regain our original consciousness. So jnana, knowledge, that we have to see the knowledge in that spirit to attain bhakti, not that to sake of the knowledge. That is impersonalism. They just for the sake of knowledge, they just go and read. That's it. But this is meant for. That's why this comes in contact between the bhakti yoga. The karma yoga is in the beginning. The jnana yoga also in the last. So both come in contact with the bhakti yoga. That's why the bhakti yoga is in the middle of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. It's like a sandwich, so that both have the contact with the Bhakti Yoga. So mainly the reason for that, so that Jnana Yoga can bring to the Bhakti Yoga, the Karma Yoga also can come to the level of Bhakti Yoga. This way, our illusions can be gone, our the false consciousness or contaminated conscious can be gone, and then we can purely situate, and then we can completely come under the complete shelter, take the complete shelter of the Krishna. So yeah, that's my conclusion.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So one additional question. So we have chapter 2, and where Krishna gave basically knowledge about the soul, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That we are not the body, and so is that also considered as a jnana yoga? Some of the slokas in the prior chapters are they considered as jnana yoga?
Yes, we can consider it as Jnana Yoga, as well as it's informing, the informational, that telling to Arjuna about, but in a very condensed form. And then Jnana Yoga is here explained in very detail from 6 chapters, that everything is explained. And also when it comes to the 18th chapter, that's the conclusion of the entire 17th chapter. And it's also that the Sangha Yoga, the second chapter, is considered as the Sangha Yoga. Sangha Yoga is basically the knowledge of the body and the soul, the differentiation between the material and spiritual. That's called, so basically the elaborative descriptions of the material nature is called Sangha Yoga. And in that section, in the Sangha Yoga section, Lord explains about the spirit soul and the nature of the soul. Yes, in all respect, Bhagavad Gita, entire Bhagavad Gita is the knowledge part of it. But here we can say that the 13th chapter onwards, it says that it's basically the Jnana Yoga mentioned is a material knowledge. So the knowledge of the matter, and that's why the modes of material nature, 14th chapter, and the 15th chapter is the Purushottama Yoga. Then the 16th chapter, the demoniac and the divine, and the 17th chapter is again the modes of material nature continued. And then the karma sannyasa yoga, that's the 18th chapter. So yes, everywhere it is mentioned but it is a division section is mainly the first 6 chapter is again we know that the second chapter, how the second chapter is concluding, right? Second chapter, Krishna is telling that you work, you do your duty, you do your and karmanye vadagariyaste mafaleshu kadachana. So in the second chapter, Krishna was explaining about the difference between the body and the soul, and there itself also Krishna explains about that you are a Kshatriya, you have to perform your duty without looking for the results. So basically what happens is gradually progressing, gradually making Arjuna to make him understand. So initially Arjuna was in such a situation that he was not knowing that what is body, what is material nature, what is soul, what is Lord, what is Supreme Lord, what is this all about eternal. Arjuna didn't have any idea about all these things. So we are. So the second chapter, when the first moment Arjuna was asking this question that I'm going to kill my grandfather, that's where Krishna is telling that, Natum nebam jadum asam jatum neme janadipa. I mean, there was not a time that the soul was not there. I mean, soul was always there. He was eternal. All these kings, everybody was eternal. So this was contextual about the second chapter about the soul. It's a contextual about explaining about the soul, the details of the soul to Arjuna, so that basically the second chapter is breaking the heart of Arjuna, breaking the misconception of Arjuna. That's the Guru does the first thing. That's where the Guru concepts came into the second chapter. Krishna became the Guru of Arjuna. What the Krishna did the first thing, that to break the misconception of the disciple about all these things. So Krishna was what is called reverse engineering. Krishna was reverse engineering the concept of Arjuna about all the perceptions of Arjuna. So that's what it's mentioned about. Yes, it's briefly explained. That's why it is also called the contents of the Gita summarized. The second chapter is also known as the contents of the Gita summarized. That means pretty much we can see everything in the second chapter, and also pretty much we can see everything in the 18th chapter. Then actually the third chapter onwards, the Karma Yoga clearly explains, and that brings to the Ashtanga Yoga. Then what a person, then that comes to the finally to attain, the devotion to the Supreme is the ultimate of it. And we know that how the fifth chapter, Karma Yoga, ends with it. Bhoktaram Yagadavasam 529. Bhoktaram Yagadavasam Sarvaloga Maheshwaram Sugurdam Sarvabhudanam Nyatva Mam Shantim Ruchati. That means Krishna says that I am the beneficiary, I am the benefactor of the all living entities. One who knows this, I am the well-wisher, I am the friends of all living entities. One who knows this will be free from the pangs of these material miseries. So Krishna was saying that. So ultimately, the goal, the entire essence of Bhagavad-Gita is nothing but to bring to the Bhakti Yoga. So this is a path, it's a progressional path. That's why Jnana Yoga is also included.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for asking. Wonderful question. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Anything to add?
Prabhu, Haribol Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam, Dandavad Pranam.
All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Ashish.
Always Srila Prabhupada, Dandavad Pranam to everyone, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, last time I recall, always bothering this question to me,
Yeah.
actually. And then last time also I discussed about that. Narsingha Prabhu already mentioned, discussed very profound way, but I need to know more about this, about the dream, Prabhu. Dream.
I see. About the dream. Okay.
Yes. I was waiting for your class. That's why this class.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
Okay. So what was the question? That means that the dream which devotee sees and regular people sees, and what is the difference, right?
And three questions I have.
Okay.
So all of the illusion, we know that in the material world,
yeah,
we see that illusion
yeah,
and everything there. But in the dream, whether in the dream, first question is that our dream and devotee's dream is different. That day we already Narsingha Prabhu will explain about it. But we saw that devotee dream, that is true. That is true dream. Means devotees saw the deity is there at a particular place, we can go there and found it, right?
Yes.
So a lot of that is real truth there. But our dream is illusion. There is always not true. And what is that dream? First thing. And after sleep, our subtle body is with our body, or our soul is going with the subtle body somewhere. That is a second question. And what about the various type of dream will come in our mind? What is that? Whether that is happened in our previous life or actually happened or not?
Yeah.
This is a question.
Yeah. I understood your question. I was reading one of the book. It's a scientific book, and it was mentioned that our brain cannot make a face, or our brain cannot construct a face or anything like that. So what is actually which remains in the smriti? Smriti is not the brain. Smriti is not memory. Smriti is actually which really carries the settled body, the consciousness, which carries along with the body and the settled body, and that carries. So what happens as a dream is nothing but that somewhere in our life or past life, maybe 3 lifetimes back, maybe 5 lifetimes back, that we have been gone through some of this one, and this was there in our smriti. Smriti means that smriti mandal. It is known as mandal. It's not that just the brain cells or the neuron cells or something like that, but it was there since our time immemorial. It was there in our smriti. That's why it is coming back as some of the images and some of the pictures that we had. So when we see through our eyes, when we see through all these things, and we experienced and we felt it, that is there in our settled body. So that from that settled body which revives. So then what happens when we go into a deep sleep, and then there are also 3 stages of that. One is called the nidra, and then there is also wakefulness, and then also sushupti. And sushupti is the state where deep sleep. When we are on the deep sleep, when what is actually happening, that at that time the settled body is awakened. That's what is also the death is also another kind of wake. We can see that the passing the settled body is passing from the body to another. So but settled body carries this all images from since time immemorial, and this settled body carries the images. The settled body carries our all activities and the karma, the everything. So everything is there in the settled body. So when it comes, that's why even the child is in the mother's womb, sees that he can see his past 100 lifetimes. He can see, and he can see even the Lord, because of his pure. His consciousness is pure. But as soon as he come in contact and touch with the material world, he completely forgets. And what happens? His settled body now, little conscious. That's why many children, and we there the past life, and they all can reiterate, and they could go back up to certain age like 6, 7, 8 years, because of then so many things comes into their mind and everything they forget, but it doesn't go away from the settled body. So at least it's mentioned that a powerful person, their memory is so strong and powerful, can see up to 3 lifetimes in their past. So that will all come into their dream, come into their, this sleeping state. That will all come. That is what is actually basically the dream. And what happens sometimes, it's actually the Robert Freud. I think it's a Freud actually, the one who clearly he was came up with this understanding, and he published some lots of books about the dream. And what he says that about the dream is actually our mind, our brain cells make up things. Our brain cells make up the stories. Our brain cells make up things. But later study of the scripture, later study, scientific study, that our brain cannot make anything actually. So our scriptures is very clearly, this is actually the sum of in our past life that we've been seen some faces, we have been through, we have been met some people, we have been in a very place. Even I saw that so many dreams. I not even in my entire life, I never been any places. Then I was thinking how it is made my brain or how my consciousness made all these things. And this is because of we have been in the past, we have been either in contact or in some situations, or been going through all this. It is there in our settled body. That's what is coming as our dream. So that is, I can say a lot about so many examples out there, even from my experience itself. So that's one thing. So second thing, so you understood what is the dream now, right? How it is coming.
Yes, Prabhu, that, but a quick question here. Jagannath Puri or any pure devotee sing that every time they sing the Lord's
Yeah, let
activity.
me come to that one. Let me come to that one, right? Okay, so now when we come to the devotional platform, what is first thing is happening is actually we are trying to purify our subtle body. That means our mind, intelligence, and all ego now purifies, and then it's filled with the devotional spiritual activities. So in that, I mean, first of all, the soul is very powerful, and in the Bhagavad-Gita explains that Brahman means the soul is also a Brahman. Our the material nature is also a Brahman, right? And our consciousness is also a Brahman. It's also part of the Brahman. That means Lord sees everything. Lord can see everything, and that's the same nature we also have it. So when we really reawaken our spiritual consciousness, original consciousness, that means now this is actually coming again, that the time we have been with the Lord, we have been with the Supreme Lord. So we are actually reawakening our relationship with the Lord, means that the many times the Lord was so dear to those devotees. And then what happens when they are serving the Lord in such a love and devotion? They purify their subtle body in such a way that now all their dreams and everything in union, in what is called in unite with the Supreme Lord, the desire of the Supreme Lord. So now the devotee's desire is now in line with the Supreme Lord, the desire of the Supreme Lord. Now there is no much difference between the spiritual platform or spiritual identity. So what we are all goes through when we are away from the Lord, when we are away from our original spiritual identity or spiritual realm. So we are on the material realm. So in the material realm, that is mind, intelligence, and ego, all are in the material realm. And then everything, like what is coming out, is coming out for whatever the material. But when we are purified enough, when we are on the spiritual consciousness, our primarily or predominated our consciousness in the spiritual activities and the Lord and the pastimes, and always we are purified enough, then what happens? We can also see the Lord can directly interact with that devotee. That means that devotee engages in the pastimes of the Lord. So either through the consciousness or unconsciousness, in whichever way, that devotee is always there. So in the spiritual platform, there is no time or there is nothing like that. There is no distinction between material and spiritual. When a devotee comes to that, the original, real spiritual platform, there is no difference between, what we see it as in the material body or something like that. So that devotee is always in the association of the Lord, either through the dream or anything like that. So when a devotee goes to that consciousness or the deep consciousness, that's called samadhi even, and the deep consciousness when they sleep, and then what is actually happening, their consciousness is actually now with the Lord. Their consciousness is now in the engaging into the service of the, entering into the pastimes of the Lord. So there they have communication, that they have interact with each other, and that's what is exactly happening. Remember that when Madhavendra Puri was sleeping, and that time Krishna came in his dream and said that, I am there lying down into the bush, underneath of the bush, please take me out. And when the next day Madhavendra Puri went there, Madhavendra Puri saw that the deity is right there. And I gave the many examples of in my childhood that, what happened to that a devotee of the Lord. He got a dream of, the Guru, Lord Krishna, that I am lying down underneath of the well. So when the devotee purifies enough, now devotee attracts Krishna, then Krishna comes to them. And when Krishna comes to them, Krishna interacts in such a way that that's the time, whether knowingly or conscious or unconsciously, Krishna interacts with them, right? I mean, there is no doubt into that. There are so many examples we can give, even I can give so many examples how the Krishna is interacting with the devotees. And there are so many examples out there, either through the dream. We know that so many examples of the dream in the Jagannath Puri the devotees has, and devotees every day experience a dream, and even still devotees experience such dream that Krishna comes to them because of they are purified, they are very pure because their consciousness is pure. Now what is predominating, what is actually on top of everything is nothing but a spiritual consciousness. In that spiritual consciousness, Lord directly interact with such devotees. So for them it is not just a dream actually, but it is actually a pastime. It is actually the devotees are interacting with the Lord. Lord is communicating with them. Lord is coming to them actually. So for the spirit soul, there is no material, there is no matter there. Spirit soul is absolute. Spiritual nature is absolute. So in the spiritual level, in the spiritual platform, when one who sees the dream, like the Srila Prabhupada or the Sri Krishna or comes because of they are entering, they are coming to that spiritual realm, and there is an interaction between the Lord and the devotees. So this is nothing because of the spiritual realm is absolute. So that is nothing we can separate, that is a material. So it's very important, and it's very it's a fact that devotees the Krishna, the Lord, or all the disciples of the spiritual masters, comes to their dream means that they have direct interaction with the Srila Prabhupada or Gurudev or Sri Krishna or Sri Krishna's devotees, and some devotees sees the pastimes of the devotees and the Lord. I mean, there are a lot. So this is completely on the spiritual realm and the spiritual platform. So nothing that is compared that can be with the material realm. Did it clear or did it answer?
Yes, you wonderfully you answered these things. Right now, I got the point. Yes, so I got the distinction between our dream and devotees, pure devotees' dream. So that is a great thing, Prabhu. And another just
Yeah.
the question is that in the
Yeah.
deep sleep, conscious, our subtle body is with within our body, or subtle body is gone.
Yeah, it's a good question. I was hearing this from Jagat Sakshi Prabhu. Jagat Sakshi Prabhu. So what happens? Sometimes what happens? Even the dream, and we see some dream of we are going here and there and all those things, right? I mean, it's not that we cannot just define in one point or one sense or one words or something like this. It's a very very dynamic topic, very extensive topic of how the consciousness, how the soul passes from one. It says that the soul is unlimited. Soul is not that, even it says that in our heart, which is the 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair, but soul, the potency of the soul is unlimited. But it is now we are limited in our heart, so that we are conditioned. That's why we are, let's say, human. But in actual reality, when it comes to the real spiritual and absolute platform, the potency of the soul is unlimited. It's like a Krishna only, 400 Vishnu form. That's the soul's original nature. So what happens when the soul in the heart region, and then the soul is there, the consciousness is there, and sometimes we get to goes to the deep sleep. The body lies down there, and the soul can expand himself. The soul can expand, the potency of the soul can expand himself, and the same time the soul and the subtle body goes out from, not goes from the body, but the original, they are situated there itself, but it goes out from the body itself, and then goes to visit various places and see various places. And sometimes devotees comes, and many people come and tell that I saw this in the dream, and when they went there after some time, and they saw that it's exactly that they came into the dream. Many people had that experience. Well, their dream, they saw some places, and then after that they went there, and they saw that exactly the same. And I read this news. Well, it's also, there is a section into the this in the medical fields called parapsychology. The parapsychology is study of this subtle body and how it works and how it's react. And one person died in the bus, the accident. The bus was burned like anything, and he got a burn and he died. And then he got another birth, and he got that scar on his shoulder or on the neck somewhere. There was a scar of like a what is called the burning. And he had this dream, and then he was seeing that he's all his past life and everything, and he's seeing that a place where he was living and he was born and he was lived there, and he got that in his dream, and he saw that where exactly it is, and he took a bus and he went there and he saw everything exactly like that. So it is a very true, it's a very true factor. And sometimes what happens, even, I mean, when we went for a book distribution one time, and one person came and told us that, he was telling me the fact that, when he have a deep sleep, and when he goes to the sleep, and he says that he goes out of the body and goes to the different places and all, and then he sees that all and what is happening over beyond, all those things. Some people has a vision that they can see what happens beyond this. That's called spiritual vision or transcendental vision. And some people has an that kind of a nature that the soul goes out, I mean, goes in the sense soul situates there, but it can expand itself. This was I heard from the Jagat Sashi Prabhu. The potency of the soul can expand itself. It can travel even. It can even travel with the mind. The mind can even travel the speed of, the we cannot even imagine the speed of mind. And it can go everywhere at the same time. So this is the very, what is called very deep topic of, understanding our spiritual nature, our subtle nature. That's why it says that we have two bodies. One is our gross body, another is called our subtle body. Subtle body is called Sushma Sharir. It's still Sushma Sharir. And what is how do you define a mind? Mind is nothing but a transformation of the sky. You can say that the transformation of the sky is the mind. That means the entire sky, the ether, or the transformation of the ether is the mind. So the entire ether is the part of mind. So mind can carry so many things. And we cannot, we cannot even imagine that how vast and the depth of the mind. So like that, the consciousness, the symptom of life is the consciousness, and that that's the potency of the soul and the consciousness, the mind, the potency of the mind, settled body is a part of the soul. So it's also there. So it can expand itself. Mind can expand itself. The soul can expand itself, and mind can carry things like anything, and it can go and grab and capture things, and soul, wherever soul goes, and so wherever the soul spot. That's why sometimes we see that when at the time of Trayambaka, when Lord Ramachandra Bhagavan was what is called trying to shoot the arrow with the bow of the what is called Janaka Maharaj, right, in the assembly of Janaka Palace. And then all on a sudden what happens, the Parashuram appeared there. So the moment the Lord understood, the moment Lord Ramachandra Bhagavan about to take the bow, till that time Lord Parshuram didn't appear there, because the Parshuram was never expecting that somebody will going to take this bows and arrows and shoot. And then Parshuram appeared immediately there. How is that possible? Because of it communicates. It's there because the moment is that Parshuram can understand what is happening in the other world. So where is come from? This is all from that, the potency, the capacity of the mind and the purified, and they can see things beyond, they can hear things beyond, and they can travel. And the moment Parshuram was in Himalaya, the moment Parshuram appeared there, and Lord can also there like that, because of the spirit soul. And there is a prapti, there is a siddhi called Ashta Siddhi. There is a siddhi there, and they can travel at the speed of mind. And it's all out. It's not just a myth or fiction or something. But we are not there yet because we are very contaminated, and we cannot even think properly for even a moment. So, but these souls, these great souls, and the pure devotees of the Lord, they are completely under the realm or under the spiritual nature, and that's the difference between our material and the spiritual. It's a way beyond. That's why we are learning from Srimad Bhagavatam what is the spiritual nature. So think about this way, like some inhabitants of Chandra, or some inhabitants of the moon god or some other planet. They don't have any idea that we are living here on this earthly planet. Do they? No, they don't, right? So like that, we are here on this earthly planet. We don't have any idea what is happening beyond there. But when we really come to the spiritual realm and spiritual, potency, and that, then we can understand, how things are. So this is what is exactly happening. So mind has such a potency. Mind has such a power. That's why, even through the mind, we can burn this entire world. That's such a potency of the mind. And that's what is all these great sages are acquiring. They are focused their mind. And that's what is one who controls the mind, he is the friend of that. And one who is uncontrolled mind is an enemy of that person. So the mind can be controlled in such a way that, and it can control in such a way that mind can travel to the various places and spaces. That's why great sages, they travel, they could see that what is happening on the nether region, like what is Dhruvalok, how it is also happening, how many stars, so how beautifully it's all explained because of this potency of the mind. So yes, so the mind can travel, mind can go and expand its potency and capacity, and similarly soul can also do that, sitting at the same place, and soul can also travel and at the same place. So like as I mentioned, it's also part of Brahman. So yes, I mean, we can talk like lot like that, and so many ways.
Yes, Prabhu, wonderfully explained, Prabhu. Lot of questions already are answered, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking such wonderful questions. Yeah, I mean, this is the way we have to go, and so we are just what is called the tip of the iceberg. We are just putting and getting into the tip of the iceberg of all this transcendental knowledge, and there are so many devotees and the people around the world that they are all experienced in so many ways, and so many types of. So yes, I mean, it's so nice, and that when we really understand what is this body, what is this settled body, and what is the soul, and how is the soul works, and how the soul activates in so many ways, so that all is actually to come to this spiritual consciousness and spiritual platform, so that we can completely relieve, completely purify, and completely we can go back to Godhead, back to Krishna. So that's the purpose of all this. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, anything else? It's a little over, so let's conclude then. So thank you so much for joining today. Let's chant and let's pay our obeisance to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarupasya kripa sindhubhya evacha padidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Gaudi Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bo.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.